Mortgage consumers come see us for 5 reasons. They're going to buy, sell and buy, refi, their mortgage comes up for renewal, or they're going to buy a rental property. That's the only 5 reasons people come see us. I don't want to spend the time doing an application form and have my team do all of the work if it's not going to work.
You're not selling someone a solution, right? You're not saying, hey, a CRM does this or a mortgage will do that for you and has this rate. What you're doing is you're solving a problem for them, right? What problems do you have? And then how can we come in and fix it?
The past couple of years, these years of high inflation, they've been very challenging. I've got a couple of guys that I go for lunch with. We go grab some sushi, and the first 15 minutes is us just venting about everything and like going, okay, this sucks. And then at the end, I'm like, everybody good? Okay, what are we going to do about it? That's the thing too, is that, it's almost like you get a deal done and you're looking over your shoulder to be like, okay, my gosh, you got to fund this thing, right? Yeah. And I hate that feeling. And I think we all feel it, right? Which is why we have to discuss more than just rate in this industry. We have to be more strategic in our offerings. The banks are getting smarter. We have to get smarter at the same time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mortgage Tech Talks. Today, I'm joined by Russ Morrison. Russ is a 20-year veteran in the industry. We talk a whole bunch of stuff about his early days in office, how now he is 20 years in, and how he's laser focused on those upfront conversations with clients, making sure that we focus on strategy instead of rate, and how actually we think that that's actually what the client wants at the end of the day. It's just about framing it in the right way, and how he's taken that concept of having really good strategy sessions and he's baked that into a tech tool, TMS, Tactical Mortgage Solutions, that takes his years and years of experience and allows you to have these great collaborative conversations, and how now this tool is in the industry and starting to take off and get some great feedback from a ton of mortgage brokers across the country. It's a really great conversation. I think you'll enjoy it. We'll see you on the other side. I think just to get right into it, one of the things that you kind of highlighted as we were kind of preparing for this chat, and I thought it was interesting, so I wanted to dig in, was just kind of the importance of, I guess, just having the right people around you. And I think that can take probably a lot of different forms. Your, direct team, it can be your colleagues that you spend time with. Of course, it's probably your family too, coaches, I don't know, things like that. And I know that's actually a big part right now. You're actually in the office with a bunch of other brokers there. So talk to me a little just about that. Maybe is my interpretation right? And has that always been a mantra for you, or was it something you picked up more recently? Talk to me a little bit about this idea of just surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yeah, of course. And once again, Thomas, thanks for having me on as a guest. Been looking forward to this chat with you. I guess a big part of this here is, I do have to say is my wife will tell me, and I tell my wife I'm a bit of a slow learner. Okay. So,
okay.
A big part of
half the battle, right? That's what they say.
That's a plug for my wife, but a big part of, what I do here and how I've kind of grown over the years is I've really surrounded myself with ideally the right people. Excuse me. And I was fortunate enough, I grew up with 2 older brothers. I took my beatings, but I find that made me stronger.
Yes. Family, right? Yeah.
But they were very self-motivated, very driven brothers. And I really, that was a big part of, trying to be, to grow and surround yourself with people. So I lucked out on that. Not all the time, I have to be honest with you, but in the first years as a broker, I'm brand new, and I actually shared an office with a bunch of very seasoned brokers.
Okay.
And they were all extremely very helpful, and just seeing how they do their business, how they, organize themselves, how they deal with their staff and that. And back then, just a quick story is what really kind of got me motivated in this industry. Is you come in and you're like, okay, well, what do I do? And what's the opportunity is we actually had a shared printer, and I actually recently talked to this broker because he's been in the business for.
Still in the business? This guy?
He's still in the business. Yeah. I won't mention his name, but I had talked to him a while back, and I said, do you know that you helped me? Because we had a shared printer, and that shared printer would just print off, and he had a pay stub in there for the month of, I don't know, February or March. And I'm like, oh, what's this in here? And I'm like, geez, this is okay. So it kind of got me kind of fired up, and I'm like, okay. And he's a very successful guy. He's got the right attitude. He's been a bit of a mentor over the years as well. He doesn't know that, but sure. That was kind of there. But I really look at like the office I'm in now, and you've been here, I've got brokers walking by, and we'll probably get interrupted during this call, but knock on the door, but it's a good vibe. It's all different brokers. We have a lender in here as well. But when you're surround yourself with like good people and people that work hard, it naturally, feeds off on you. Like I tell my kids, I go, that's look, you surround yourself with 5 people, they will build you and help you build, but you just make sure it works the other way. If you're one of someone's 5, you make sure that you're doing your job on their part too, and that you're helping them be better too. Right. But yeah, no, I'm really a big believer in that. Like when the people I either work out with or I cycle with and stuff is always trying to improve with, and keep up most of the time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's, professionally or even personally, I think, yeah, that's like you kind of just said it there, right? You're kind of the sum of the 5. That's what they kind of say, the 5 people you spend the most time with. And it's usually your spouse maybe is the first one, but then very quickly, if you're working 8 hours a day, it's going to be the people around you. And so, and that probably rubs off, I would say, on the personal side of things too, right? So it's kind of this back and forth. Talk to me a little bit about one thing, obviously, and this is starting to get a little bit tech related. COVID happened. Everyone said, hey, we can do things on Zoom now. Why do we need offices? Let's be virtual companies. Let's be virtual this, that. And I have my mixed opinions on that. I think, it's good and bad in different areas. But what are your kind of thoughts? I think in those 2 examples there, you were very specific in being like the in-person actual dynamic when you were first starting out, and even now, having people knock on your door and walk in. I mean, everyone there that I've talked to has said like, this has been a choice for me to, pay the extra fee to come in, to have this community. Like, is it an energy thing? Is it just you can't really learn the same things over Zoom? What's kind of your take on it?
I think nothing will ever replace a handshake, face to face, and I mean, we met in Whistler the first time and it was nice. I'm like, hey, Tom, how are you? Like,
Yeah, that's true.
and we shook hands and I'm like, and we actually end up sitting together for the first day or second day, I think, of the event.
That's right. Yeah.
And that, but I don't think anything will replace that. I think everyone has their own mindset of what they want to accomplish in their business.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years and stuff, I mean, to me, being in the office like this is we have meetings, we talk to each other. I know the past couple of years, these years of high inflation, they've been very challenging, not just on the pocketbook, but emotionally as well. And, I've got a couple of guys that I go for lunch with. They're very seasoned, and we have for lunch every quarter or so. And many times throughout COVID is we go grab some sushi, and the first 15 minutes is us just venting about everything and like going, okay, this sucks. And then at the end, I'm like, everybody good? Okay, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
Right. We're going through times right now too, where it's like, the branches are pretty competitive. There's some things happening strategically in this industry that I think I think the lenders are getting smarter, right?
Probably.
And they're seeing their numbers, profit margins and all that stuff. And I mean, it's good to be around people that are experiencing the same thing. Or it's like, if you're having a crappy day or you're having a great day, share your successes, share your how do you, I mean, that's the thing is you go through challenging times and it's like, how do you get out of it? Right. And stuff. And sometimes you get in holes and you're like, get me out of this. How do I do it? And a lot of time is just to talk. I use exercise just to go out and do something or talk to my wife. And that I always confide in her and she always gives me wonderful advice 99% of the time. And that, but
like the one earlier telling you that you're a slow learner, right?
I look at my wife as being like, she's awesome. I'm married for 21 years. I've been with her.
That's amazing.
And I think that I am been a bit of a project for her. I'm a stubborn guy. I'm a slow learner, but I know there's times where she's just right. And it's good to just say, it's all good. Put your tail between your legs and go from there. So
yeah, have some humility with that. And yeah, I think that
absolutely.
Yeah, totally. Right. Whether it's, high inflation, on the pocketbook or just emotions or, now kind of some of the different challenges that we're seeing in the mortgage space with the branches, with the banks, like you're saying, some of it I think is what you talked about of, okay, how are we going to get out of this hole? What's, one step at a time? How are we going to kind of dig ourselves out? But I think the first part is equally important where you're venting. And more than anything in my mind, that's like, hey, I'm not crazy here. Right. Like sometimes I think when you're going through a tough time, I think that's what a lot of people maybe feel, right? Is, is this just happening to me? Am I a victim here? And it's like, no, actually there's a much bigger thing going on that I'm just kind of getting swept up in.
It's very true. Like I remember being at events and that, and even hearing broker owners saying, it's a grind right now. We're having trouble. And to have someone openly admit that, it's almost like you throw it out there and then you're like, okay, well, what can we do to fix this?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I'm using a line of credit to keep my business running. And there's got to be an end to it. There's always cycles. It's just surviving that, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is, I mean, I tried to just use my time wisely during COVID, during the inflationary period, reaching out to clients. Like a big part of it is just collaboration and just talking to others. I think is one thing a lot of us do, especially us guys, right?
Yeah. No, I think so, right? And having that honesty, like you said, actually allows you to problem solve, right? If you just come in and are just like, everything's great, then, I just move on, right? Yeah, no,
it's not always great.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, when it's great, I mean, I'm always like, okay, I remember my dad said to me, he goes, enjoy the ups and downs because really, or not enjoy the ups and downs, is enjoy the ups because when you experience a down, you're going to want that up again. Life is like, it's up and down, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, or whether it's, your health, it's all full of ups and downs. Right. So, absolutely. I mean, it's just I've really tried to, in these downs where it's been a challenge and you're like, okay, well, I'm trying to find business and there's not a whole lot there is, okay, what can I do as positive? Anything that I can do that, I mean, I don't know.
Just a positive regression, right? Like it doesn't have to be, you need to get to the volumes that I was last year. It's just like, I just need to be a little bit better than yesterday and a little bit better than yesterday, right? Yeah.
I work with a coach I have for years and he said, Russ, it's not that bad because really, if we look at your numbers compared to 2021 and 22 is you're having the third or fourth best year ever. I said, yeah, but my mortgage payments have gone up, twofold, right? I'm like, that's the problem, right? So, but I know there's always an end to it, but it's just surviving that pain per se, or just getting through it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And being data driven, right? Because I think people have really short-term memories, to your point with the coach, where it's, hey, all I'm thinking about is how I'm worse off than I was last year, or this or that, or just the payment that came across. But whoa, let's zoom out and say, whatever, I'm having my third best year ever.
Right.
Totally.
And I wouldn't have survived COVID, to be honest. And this is a tech plug. I know why we're here talking is, I mean, I use a CRM, name base as Blue, the Zoho platform. I wouldn't have survived the past couple of years if I didn't, we input our clients, we track everything.
Yeah.
And when there's opportunities that came up, we would reach out and we'd reach out to them. And I don't think if we track our renewals, we hit our renewals hard. We're like, what can we do at this point?
Yeah.
So we would not have survived the past few years of low lead, generation unless we actually, mined our database. And doing that is not just looking at your submission platform, but actually managing it and looking at it. Right. So in your CRM, and this means CRM, what's a CRM do, right? It's supposed to manage your database, create efficiency. So, and that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that, this concept of efficiency, as you just said, I think is something that's top of mind for a lot of people today, I think, right? Because it's, hey, I'm having a lot of, we've all seen the charts, right? Where it's like 25, 26, half of, 25, 2026, half renewals are coming up. But at the same time, we're having these tougher conversations where people are coming up for renewal and they're saying, well, my bank can give me a much, better rate and this and that, so we need to, so you're having a lot, maybe the same amount of conversations, maybe more conversations, but the actual, I guess, conversions, and maybe we can talk a little bit about conversions and that concept there is maybe not where it needs to be. Yeah, I guess, I think we also talked about this a bit before, and I know you're a big, I guess, advocate for it, but this concept of conversions, how do you use it in your business? I mean, maybe taking a zoom out, if no one's ever even heard this concept, conversions, lead to fund conversion ratios, describe it maybe a little bit, and how are you like specifically using it in your business? Because I think that's interesting for a lot of people.
Well, I mean, I think we've all heard about conversion ratios, but mainly there's 3 different conversion ratio measurements that we should use as brokers. Okay. The first one is lead to app. Okay. So how many out of 10 files, how many are we getting to an application form? And if you're sitting around 2 to 3, that's low.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're up around 6 to 7, 7.5, that's good. The next one would be you get the app. Now, how many are funding? Now, this will be a little bit lower. Okay. Because of course, from app to fund, you submit it. Maybe the deal falls through or you lose the file. That all happens. Okay. That's maybe 45 to 55 in good measurements. But then there's the lead to fund. How many come in and actually fund the full measure?
Right.
And when I look at that, I mean, we track our conversion ratios because that conversion ratios probably should be about 40 to 50 in very good times, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if that drops to 20 to 30, you're like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Where do I go with this and try to make it better? If my lead to app is only 40%, that means that there's something I'm doing in the first process that is not working. And I had some time back in a few years back at Christmas, and when my wife was, she's like, get off your computer. But I'm like, I snuck in early in the morning because I was curious. Okay. And
right after Santa showed up, snuck in. Right?
That's exactly it. Right. But I started to think about, I don't think this is any surprise, but I started putting it to numbers where I went back to all the deals I did over like a 3 to 4 year period.
Okay.
And my target markets are generally, because I'm 25 years in, are past clients, past client referrals, financial planners, and realtors. Okay. I don't want to touch anything else. I have friends I play hockey with and stuff like that. And I but I don't
want or anything like that.
Well, let's get to that in a second. So
put that aside.
I mean, what I found was that out of those 4, these guys here, the past clients, would actually lead to fund was about 45 to 50%.
Yeah.
And then past client referrals, so it's a warm introduction, was about 40 to 45, financial planners 35 to 40, but there was a big drop to the realtors.
That's crazy, hey?
Which was about 25.
I think that comes as a huge surprise, Russ, to a lot of people. Like, a lot of people think like realtors is my lifeblood. I do everything through realtors. Was it a shock to you when you felt like you just saying those stats is shocking even to me, just hearing that, even though I've, had a lot of these types of conversations, but still I'm just shocked all the time to hear that type of metric, right?
My thought here is that when I look at this, and then if I go even further and I go to online leads and stuff like that, it drops to like 1 in 10. So if someone I have a bunch of Google reviews, and I don't use that as lead generation. To me, it's brand recognition.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. Yep.
So what we started to do, and I don't want leads from there because, when they call, they'll be like, hey, Russ, I always say, oh, how did you find me? Well, we just, Google. And I said, well, I mean, there's lots of other people there. I mean, why are you calling me? And I said, well, we started at the top and you're about 3rd to 4th way down. I'm like, okay. With my team, I'll be like, okay, we got a Google review. I'm closing this thing. You guys, you watch me. I'm going to close this. I'm going to kill those conversion numbers. Okay. And they bug me about it. But, back to where business comes from is, I think being more strategic is, when I look at the first 3 categories, if I focus on those, I know that a past client knows me already. I've built the trust, rapport, and credibility.
Yep.
If I say, go talk to Tom, he's going to do a great job for you. That's a warm, and I call it the circle of trust and influence concept.
Yeah.
It's really, it's almost like
a meet the parents thing, right?
I was just going to say is meet the parents, and the client, it's like, hey, I'm watching you, you're in a circle of trust. And that's partly why I actually named it that, because it's hilarious. Everyone will understand where if you're in the circle, and it's like, to me, a financial planner, I mean, it's almost like your GP. You go to your GP and you're having some trouble, go see the foot doctor. Here's the person to go see.
Yeah.
What I find is that trusted source of that financial planner is so trusted as much as a doctor, is that if you can get a referral and build trust with financial planners, then a lot of those are going to be good conversions, but you have to build the trust with the financial planner at first. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, over the years too, and that is, I started to get creative with my marketing. And for me to say, hey, I'm Russ, I'm a great guy, I want to come do a presentation for your office. I have low rates. That's great. Mm-hmm. I didn't get a whole lot of, welcomes. But when I started saying, I came up with an idea just to try it, is I started creating CE credit presentations.
Sure.
For financial planners. And I said, well, I'm Russ, I'm a really great guy, but I come in and I'm going to give you a CE credit presentation for, MFDA, IROC, and, maybe 3 of the most popular ones. So that started getting me into offices to do presentations. And then I started slowly building my database of financial planners from there. But anyways, that was something concept I started about 10 years ago. And that, so.
Interesting. Yeah. It's one of these concepts I hear a lot where it's like, if you want to, whether it's a financial planner, whether it's a client, whether it's a realtor, whatever, it's always good to give first, right? As opposed to an immediate ask, right? And it creates kind of this dynamic where if you give, there's this subconscious thing where they almost feel that they need to give back, right? And
I
it's a
I look at that too. Is that, I mean, don't hold your poker cards close to your chest. I think you're going to build more trust with the client. Just throw it in the. I'd rather know in the first meeting.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to work with me or not? Like, I mean, at least I'm going to throw it all in the first meeting and say, hey, this is what we have to offer. We're going to make sure we take very good care of you. And at least if I lose them, I'd rather lose them there. Right.
In a conversation.
But the, even for realtors as well is they in BC, I know it's going to be across Canada, but in BC, they have SDPDPs, self-directed professional development program credits.
Sure.
So you can actually do self-directed learning and give them a credit. And I've done that with, getting realtors together or even just sitting down with someone trying to get that first meeting. So,
okay. So let's zoom out for a sec. So I think, and hopefully we can start kind of bringing this back because I know, we want to get into kind of the tech side of things a bit, but, someone listening here, listening to you is saying, well, I do track my lead to fund, it's a little bit back of the envelope, but I'm kind of around that 2. How are you closer to the 5? Like that seems pretty high. And the 2 things I heard from this, and you can tell me if you disagree, is 1, finding better just lead sources, right? And it's a little bit tough. If someone's not in the business for 25 years, that's a bit of a tougher one, but let's just put that out there. And then the second one that I've heard too is just having better upfront conversations, right? Of, like you said, hey, if this is not a fit, let's not waste each other's time. Let's just put this aside and I can focus my time and energy on someone who might be a better fit. So those are the 2 big ones I see there. Let's focus on, because like I said, finding the right lead sources, that's a bit tough, especially if you're not in the business for a while. So let's talk about just having better conversations. Talk to me a little bit about that. And because I do want to kind of bring it back to TMS. I know that is something you've been working on quite a bit. But before getting into the tech specific product and what it offers, just talk to me about this concept of better conversations.
Well, I mean, back when I first started brokering, excuse me, I never really had a defined process up front. And I would always scramble. The call comes in, or I've got a call set for a certain time. And I'm like, I'm really just writing notes down on a piece of paper. Hey, let's do an application form and let's go from there. Well, This industry's evolved. There's more to it now. There's so much more to this business. When I first started, one rate was for everything, rentals, everything. There wasn't insurable rate. There wasn't insured. There wasn't an insurable conventional. I mean,
the good old days. So that's what I've heard people call it, right? The good old days.
The good old days.
Yeah.
But then again, the good old days incorporated fax machines. Okay. And I remember we joke around about this, so just veer off for 2 seconds, is you have a 30-page fax, you get to that page 28 and it sticks and you're like, son of a, all over again. So efficiency there. But when we look at that process, I really worked hard on what happens up front. And when I get on that call, what am I going to do? Mortgage consumers come see us for 5 reasons. They're going to buy, sell and buy, refi, their mortgage comes up for renewal, or they're going to buy a rental property. That's the only 5 reasons people come see us. So in TMS, I've created 5 strategy sessions. Okay. And what I will do is right from the email lead, like I got a lead from a realtor today. Okay. It was a realtor, but she is a high producing realtor and she introduces me very well, and the high lead conversions with her. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So I will have an email template set up for efficiency. I have a video in there. It says, here's what we're going to cover in the first meeting. Here's a video of what we're going to cover. And it's me. Have a quick video if they click on it. And then here's my booking link. Done. If they've taken the onus to book with me, that's pretty solid, but I don't want to keep chasing them. Okay.
Okay.
That first meeting is very important, because then what happens is I open up TMS and I say, this is how I'm going to manage your mortgage for you. And in here, I'm going to send it to you right now, and then I can measure engagement if they open it. But what I'll say is, these are the 5 reasons why you come see me. This is your account, and we're going to focus on the home purchase today. So all we're going to do today is just talk. And at the end of the call, if you would like to do an application form with me, and I don't want to spend the time doing an application form and have my team do all of the work, if it's not going to
work and whatever, right? Yeah.
I go strategy session, application, proposal. So pre-approval. And then we cut them loose, they go buy, or we have a deal. So that first meeting, what I cover is, it's educational. It's based on the education-based marketing concept. I don't want to be a salesman. I hate the word salesman. And it's almost like, when that TELUS kid calls you, or Rogers, and they're like, it got you on the phone for half an hour and I'm too I'm too polite to say, look, just leave me alone. I don't want to buy the product. But they have like a schematic of, okay, what if he says this? If it's a no, now
Like send it boop 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 on their screen, shows something else,
and
and they
it's
go
like,
down another path, and
so the first meeting to me, I think you make or break whether you get to an application form and fund that file.
sure,
You're going to have some, you're going to have some leakage. It's just, but I found that with my team is what I've done is we've dialed in that upfront process, that meeting, so we can effectively do the best we can in the first meeting. So it's like, hey, Tom, here's what we're going to cover today in home purchase. And we're going to collaborate. This is us just talking together. But I'm going to quarterback this. And I want you to know, so before you get into this, we're going to talk about this. We're going to look at fixed versus variable. And this is all in 30 minutes. And now once I've done that call, and I don't want to touch paperwork anymore. I'm not at that point now where I do the lead intake. And now that I've got that built out, my team looks at it, they know what to underwrite, and then we know what to present and offer for pre-approval. So it's streamlined that process. Sure. And also it kind of, one last thing is that for compliance is I've sent them here's all the costs associated with buying.
Mm-hmm.
An after
hidden fees, right? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, no, I think it's a very, I think I've heard that enough times too, and I'm sure you have, and it's like that first call is so important. I think it, a little bit speaks to like one comment I would make, like what you just said, where it's not about selling, like, right? You hate selling and I think it comes back to a little bit some of the dynamics that we're seeing, I think, in the industry, and you can tell me if you think this, but one thing I've said a lot is that brokers need to go from transaction, right, where I'm just selling you a financial product, right, where this is an exchange and I'm selling you, from transaction to trust. That's kind of the catchy phrase I say, where no, actually you need to be that advisor, so to speak, right? Where it's not just, hey, what do you need? And I give it to you. I'm not just, at a Burger King, you order a burger and I give you a burger. It's saying, whoa. If I'm using the Burger King analogy, what are your goals, right? Are you hungry, right? Do you want to be nutritious? Are you trying to bulk up? What's going on here, right? And it's totally, I think, necessary, right? Because, if someone wants that transaction, I think for better or for worse, there's going to be more and more. There are a lot already, but there's just going to be more and more online digital tools that'll just do that. You want a burger? Fine. Put in your money. There's your burger. Go home.
I probably wouldn't ask the nutritious question at Burger King. Okay.
Probably
but
not, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I look at, I mean, like I said, I'm a bit of a slow learner at times, but I look at the processes that your process can be one of your best conversion tools. Mm-hmm. And your conversion is within your process. So if you have a dialed in process that is, it's not like I come to a meeting with a client and I'm not dressed appropriately, or I'm, if it's dialed in, here's what's happening, here's what you can expect. Yeah. You begin to build that trust, rapport, and credibility right off the hop. Is I'm running a business here. It's like, right. It shows that, that you're running an efficient business, and we don't, in a soft way, is we don't want to mess around. If you want to rate shop us, go for it, but just be honest with us. And that's like, I look at like, another theory per se that I have is the 3-3-4 concept, right? Out of 10 leads, 3 of us, 3 of them will just work with us, trust us.
No questions asked. Right?
No questions asked. To be like, Russ, we trust you. Just do your thing. And then the next 3 you have to convince, but it takes a little bit longer. Yep. And there'll be 4 that'll just go online and just find out if they can save $2 a month. That's fine. So I want to weed those out at the beginning, and it's okay. I lose business too, but it's okay to lose files. But trying to lose them before, like, you get into the depth of it, and we lose files at the end too, but very rarely these days because we've done the process. But totally. Yep. The 4 is what I'm trying to find is I don't want to work with them. And that's where I find a lot of them are online and that sort of thing. So that's why I don't want business from there.
Yeah, I think it's, a couple things you said there. I think, first of all, absolutely. Again, as we are competing more and more against maybe some digital products, that professionality, that process shows that you're not just whatever, some guy at his desk with his phone firing off emails. Your business, right? Your business that's going to have their back, that has, certain things in place that are going to make sure that they're in good hands. Absolutely, that's the case. And I think, that even goes back to what you were saying earlier about having your Google page. It's not about leads, but it's just about showing how you're presenting yourself to the client, right? And I think that's so important. Absolutely. The other really interesting thing too, I think, for a lot of people listening and for you kind of being a veteran, is being okay with saying no to those 4. I think that's tough for some people where it's like, I got these 4 leads. I worked for them. It was a realtor lead. It was maybe I paid for it online. And now I'm just going to say I'm okay with letting them go. No, I want to get all 10. What would you say to someone who says that to you, right? If they say, "Oh no,
Well,
we got to get all 10."
I mean, the first thing is to be telling is you're not going to get all 10.
That's right.
Okay. If that was the case, there'd only be one brokerage house in this industry,
Yeah.
right? So there'd only be one superpower and it'd be all of one. So,
Mm-hmm.
I guess if I get that spidey sense, I never want to let a deal go. I'm as competitive in type A as probably every other broker that's in this industry. Okay. As I've gotten older, you got to poke me a little bit more to get me angry, but it's still there, but it's very deep. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I guess to answer that question is your gut feeling tells you a lot. And if you're going to be shopped and so forth, you have to take control at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, you need to exercise some sort of genuine or see what these people are all about. And it's at some point I'll say, look, there is a lot of work in what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I would just ask that if you are going to do this, or this, just let us know now, because there's a lot of work involved. We want to make sure that we take good care of you. That's what we're here for. But I know we also know that you have things that you have to take care of as well. So please, before I let a deal go, of course, I'm going to exercise everything I possibly can do to make that into a file or into a funded file. But sometimes it's just, it's like the fallback position is, look, please just let me know, because to be honest with you, there's a lot of work involved. I have staff and we want to make sure we take good care of you. Just please be honest with me.
Totally. Yeah. No, I think that's, the honesty is huge. And I think, I think you get in the trap when you are competitive. I'm competitive too, where it's, I just got to get my numbers good and I got to get, my top line. But I think people sometimes forget is the cost of those 4, right? If you let those 4 in, it's going to be your time. It's going to be maybe your team's time. It's going to actually take away time from better clients who you'd rather pay attention to, and the stress, right? I mean, I don't think you can put a price tag on that, but that's huge, right? And I think that's
the stress too, is that, I mean, that's the thing too, is that, I mean, it's almost like you get a deal done and you're looking over your shoulder to be like, okay, my gosh, you're going to fund this thing. Right. And I hate that feeling. And I think we all feel it. Right. Which is why we have to discuss more than just rate in this industry. We have to be more strategic in our offerings. The banks are getting smarter. We have to get smarter at the same time. And I think it's a big evolution something we have to do is we have to get better as brokers and there's lots to that. Right.
Yeah.
But what I do today versus what I did 25 years ago, it's shifted, and that's shifted based on, demographic, who calls me.
Yeah.
You're trying to find some pain, whatever pain you can solve for clients, conversion ratio goes up, right?
Yep.
A lot of people, it's like you're trying to solve problems for people they never really knew about, right?
That's it.
But you have to figure those ones out, and that's where product knowledge and just trying to be as positive you can with people. I mean, being educational is you're going to find the 3-3, not the 4. Right.
Yeah. But you're going to find the 3. Yeah. Not to stay at the 4. Yeah. No, it's true. I think it's something that we always talk about here at Blue, at Blue, which is you're not selling someone a solution, right? You're not saying, hey, a CRM does this or a mortgage will do that for you and has this rate. What you're doing is you're solving a problem for them, right? What problems do you have? And then how can we come in and fix it? And like you said, on the mortgage side, but that comes with a whole host of knowledge of maybe demographics, just maybe mortgage products. There's a whole much to it. And so bringing it back to TMS there, one question I had for you is to say, why did you decide to put it into, a tech product? Why was that so essential? Because, if I was to play devil's advocate, I guess, response would be, well, could that just be a binder where you just kind of have a flow chart and I kind of go through it? I have my guesses, but I'd rather just hear from you kind of why did you originally maybe do it in a flow chart and it got too complicated? Tell me a little bit about the jump to actually a technology platform to really serve this experience up.
Well, just a little bit of, this has been my COVID project, TMS. 4.5 years ago, I said to my wife, hey, I've got something I'd like to work on. I think it's going to do okay, but I'm going to be leveraging a bit of the home equity to get this done. How do you feel about this? And honestly, as awesome as my wife is, she said, it sounds great. I believe in what you're doing. And I'm like, wait a minute here. Am I, go for it. And I'm like, okay. So I started designing. I hired a company out of Toronto, a tech company. The front end is done through a gentleman in Morocco, and the back end, all the coding and stuff, is done through a gentleman in Iran. Now, I came into this with no tech experience. I just hired a company. I said, this is what I want. So finally, we have this presented to the industry. And why I really did it was efficiency, presentation, B2C presentation was a big one.
Yes.
I have all these spreadsheets. And I got to the point where I'm like, I share my screen and I'm like, here's a spreadsheet. And I'm like, I think this could be better.
Yeah.
Right. And then the spreadsheet, I was sending it to them. And then all of a sudden, it's gone. I don't know where it is anymore.
Yeah.
Where I put this into a platform where you open a client's account and now you can track everything in there of what they've done. So wouldn't it be cool if I went, hey, Tom, we bought your house 2 years ago. Here's where we're sitting. We did this. Great. Now you want to refi. Here's your account. I'm going to send this to you. And then it got away from like, I'm not, with all the multiple scenarios too, it's like, spreadsheets to me, I think we should start pushing them aside. This is really a glorified spreadsheet is what it is.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. I think a lot of great tech platforms are at the end of the day, right? Is taking what might have been cobbled together in Excel to put it in to a platform, right? Yeah.
But you can get pretty detailed with, little things like scenario side by side with premiums, and there's so many different scenarios you can run, but it's mainly educational. Say if someone calls me up and says, well, Russ, if I put 20% down to 15%, what's the difference? Well, I don't want to write an email that's, of all the, I would just do a Loom video, open up their account and say, here's the main difference.
Yeah.
And here's what looks all the way down. And what's been really effective for brokers right now is dealing with rates. And to me, we have to be more strategic. And part of this platform allows you to compare fixed rates to variable, and then you can schedule or speculate whatever on what the prime rate's going to do. And you can show if you do this, you do that, then maybe it's more strategic to go this way. And there's also in the home refinance section, there's a whole bunch of midterm refis right now where you can compare what they have now to a fixed and also to a variable and add that in. It's very streamlined. You can do it very quickly. But why I did this, and that is part of me is it's for my own business. And part of it is I think I'm hoping this product will help brokers be stronger, have a stronger connection with their clients. And not just us being about rates, but it's strategy sessions. There's strategies in there on everything that you have to notice and talk about, right?
Sure.
And that sort of thing. And as you go through it, it's really, it's a presentation tool, right?
Yep. Okay. Yeah. No, and it's, I think it's one of those things where, okay, we have more consumers, I was talking about earlier, going online, digital competition, whatever, but I think that's trained consumers, myself, whatever, to want to get the show not tell experience, where it's like, I don't want you to, well, sure, you could tell me and you could write a big paragraph of what this rate difference is and the assumptions, or I can just see it, right? I can see, okay, you change the variable in the tool, or I do this, and I can actually see that effect. And that's, I think, how people want to get information now, because maybe it's easier to interpret. But I think more importantly, goes back to what we were saying earlier, which is they feel that they're part of it, right? That they're not just the one receiving it, but hey, we're a team and we're trying to find a solution together, right? I think that's a big thing that I would see.
That's a good point, because 20 years ago, hey, Tom, how are you? We're going to get to an application form and then we'll figure that out. Now it's like, hey, Tom, this is what I do as a mortgage broker. And this is your own account. This is how we're going to manage your mortgage for you. Just the power of those words really becomes like, what I'm going to do today is this is like a coffee session. Me and you, we're going to collaborate.
Yeah.
This is as much about me telling you what I think as you telling me what you need. Yeah. And if someone calls me up, I have this occasionally and I growl when I do this, but hey, Russ, what's your best rate? And I'm like, I really don't know, because are you insurable? What's the value of your property? Like, I just don't know. And I'm not trying to beat around the bush with people. It's like, or hide anything, but I'm like, I just don't know. I don't know. Like, I need more from you.
Honest answer.
Right?
Yeah.
So
completely. Okay. No, I think that's exact, and that's the truth, right? I don't even think that's just you kind of trying to dance around it. It's the way it is. And again, I think not only is it that, brokers need to be more strategic, but also the consumer, I think, needs that more too, right? With more regulation, with new rules. It feels like a new rule coming out every, 6 months now. And that's confusing, right? Even if you're in the industry, it's tough to keep up, let alone a consumer who just sees a headline come across and say, what does that mean to me? So I hope consumers are going to start getting more away from rate and more towards strategy. I know that's the case for me, where I want to see the bigger picture, not just the second decimal point on that rate handle. But I guess we'll see. I guess, Russ, just to wrap up, this has flown by and it's been great chatting with you. Love to just kind of get, with TMS, I know that obviously you've been using it for your business. I know that some beta users with different organizations have been starting to play around with it. Just curious, and you can be a shameless plug if you'd like, is just what's kind of been the reception so far? Because I think that's always the scary part when you're building a platform. It's like, okay, this has worked for me and my business and it's my baby. But now your baby goes to school, right? Or something like that. Now it's in kindergarten playing with other friends. And what has that been like for you?
Well, part of it is getting out to the industry is I've actually, part of this is the one thing I've measured is my conversion ratios, just as a shameless plug, have increased by using a set process using the system, which is why I built it, lead conversion ratios. On the other side is I have had the product. I did have a large brokerage house purchase the product as a licensing agreement. I have just finished that contract with them. So it's actually inside their system, that was a big kind of, moment going, wow, okay, this is getting real now.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm slowly building subscribership, but I haven't done any direct marketing at this point, but people are just going, hey, Russ, I just need a demo. Mm-hmm. And what I'm finding is that, in a good way, I've slowly released it because in tech, there's always bugs.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
And it drives me crazy because I'm like, just when you think you have it perfect, something pops up. So with that being said, the product's out there. It has been for 6 to 12 months in that range. But as I step away, like I've got my mortgage business, I've got a great team and I'll never leave my mortgage team, but I'm stepping away from what I do with my team. And I've allowed our process, I'm only touching the upfront. I don't want to, the rest of my team takes care of. So I'm handing more off to them. So now I'm going to start hitting the marketing more and getting into the industry, but I've had a really good response from the brokers using it, from certain companies and that, and it's been good. I love hearing, wow, this is fantastic. And I have had, some people, the 334.
Yeah.
It's on everything, right?
It's a universal
law or universal rule. So.
And it's it's great. And it's always the tough thing. I chat with a lot of people in your brokers who are thinking of doing a tech play, maybe have started doing it, maybe are close to where you're at. And one of the advice I always give is you always have to straddle both for a little bit, right? Because, one's maybe got to finance the other. But if you can make that leap and say, hey, at least I'm going to be more concentrated more on the tech side, that's exciting to me because that's when I see really, things start to take off. So it's cool to kind of see and talk to you at this kind of, I guess, inflection point in this journey.
Well, that being said, there's another project too that I've actually been giving money for, and that's, I'm working at the same time. So I've got creating just under the TMS brand. But the thing too is that at this point, with this tech side, we have revenue now, and you're like, wow, there's revenue from this new business I've created because I've been doing one business for the past 25 years, but we're starting to get revenue, and it's almost like I'm feeling like I'm doing a disservice to this company, my company, if I'm not spending more time on it. Yeah. And I have a commitment to people that have invested, of course, and I want to make it successful. But it's all the fun of starting a company all over again and from scratch, and I really enjoyed it. That's what I love doing. So.
Good. Yeah. that's all of it is, I think, enjoying it. And as you're juggling different stakeholders and shareholders, it's always just about being honest and upfront, right? Hey, this situation, this is what's going on. Because that's, people get it, right? You have 100 things going, everyone does, right? But if you can be honest about commitments here and there, I think that's the best for everyone involved. So
for sure.
Listen, Russ, I really appreciate the time. This has been great. Enjoyed our chat. Enjoyed chatting with you a couple of weeks ago in Whistler, and we should absolutely do it again. But thanks so much, and we'll see you next time, I guess.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Tom, and we'll chat with you again soon. Take care.
Awesome.